The Celtics did indeed finish their sweep of the Indiana Pacers after Tatum dropped a beautiful double-double, nearly a triple-double, and Jaylen Brown won the Larry Bird Eastern Conference Finals MVP trophy. He was one vote ahead of Jason Tatum in 5-4 in favor of Brown. In a 105-102 win, the Celtics are moving on to the NBA Finals, their second Finals appearance in 3 seasons. I want to know, are you surprised that the Celtics were actually able to finish off this sweep and send the Pacers home in 4 games?
I was worried after the Knicks series, given the way the Pacers played. I think it was more about the Knicks being hurt than maybe the Pacers being that a really, really strong team. Although once they got it rolling, man, they weren't missing. They had the first half of the Game 7 against the Knicks. They shot over 70%. You don't see that very often. I think it was a record in a half in a playoff game. 70% shooting. It's crazy.
The entire game was filled with records.
It was crazy.
By the end of the game, it was the highest shooting percent.
They had their chance in Game 1 against the Celtics, and they blew it. They made mistakes, and this happened to them throughout the series, actually. And then once Haliburton got hurt and he couldn't play Game 3, I figured it was over. And it turned out I was picking this series could go 6 or 7. If Haliburton had been in there the whole time and played the way he played in the Knicks series, then I could see it being quite a challenge for the Celtics. But it turned out to be a sweep. And you look at the scoring stats, Jaylen Brown had a great series. He deserved that trophy, the Larry Bird trophy. Interesting, it's a Celtics player trophy, and he's a Celtic, got that trophy. I think that'll probably mean quite a bit to him. 29 points. 6 rebounds, 2 assists. A great night, 44 minutes. Jason Tatum, 26 points, 13 rebounds, 8 assists, almost a triple-double. Derek White, strong game, 16 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists. Drew Holiday, a very strong game, 17 points, 9 rebounds, 2 assists. So it was balanced scoring for the Celtics starters. And they showed why they're the winningest team in the NBA in 2023-24.
I was a little bit nervous this game because I'm not surprised that they were able to finish off the sweep, but I was not impressed, or I was surprised by how close the game was. We're talking about down to the wire, seconds remaining. The Celtics finally were able to take a lead and then clinch it. That's what I'm a little bit nervous about. The star player of the Indiana Pacers, Tyrese Haliburton, was out. In this game, the Celtics were losing entering the fourth quarter. How are you going to do that against a Mavericks team that is on fire right now? And if the Timberwolves do something that's never been done in the entirety of the NBA playoffs, in the history of the NBA playoffs, go down 0-3 and come back and win the series, Celtics almost did that last year, then look at the two teams the Celtics are going to be up against. And I know a lot of people talk about this, and a lot of people are criticizing the Celtics for this, but I think it does need to be said. The Celtics have had a very fortunate run to the NBA Finals. Jimmy Butler out the entirety of the series. Donovan Mitchell missed the last 2 games. And now you have Tyrese Haliburton, who also missed the last 2 games of the series. Each of the best players on these teams have missed a significant amount of time, crucial games. In the case of the Pacers, you lose your last 2 games after being down 0-2, yet you're kind of screwed there. You're kind of screwed. Now, Nembhard stepped up very well. He went 10 of 18, 3-6 from 3. So he tried his very best to keep this a relatively close game, and it was a very close game. It came all the way down to the wire, individual seconds remaining. But I'll give Jaylen Brown his flowers. After being criticized for his turnover issues, he can't dribble with his left hand, just bad play overall, he stepped it up big time in this series, averaging 29.8, 5 rebounds, 3 assists. He had 2 steals throughout the entire series, shooting 51%. If you want to round up, it's 51.7, so let's say 52 for posterity. However, I'm going to actually say that I would have given the award to Jason Tatum. When you average 30 and 10, something that I don't think Larry Bird has done in the Eastern Conference Finals before, I think you kind of need to give it to the better player, the significantly better rebounder, the guy who has more assists, who has near steals and blocks. It wasn't a runaway for Jaylen Brown. Me personally, I would have given it to Tatum. However, I think the X factor of this series, and I mentioned it before when we talked about the Celtics, I believe after Game 2, The X factor in this entire series and the wake-up call was not the fact that Al Horford was the starting center. It was not that Derek White had a pretty okay series. He averaged about 16 points a game and 6.5 assists. It was Jrue Holiday. Jrue Holiday, after averaging 12 points in the playoffs, and I believe also in the regular season, he stepped it up massive, nearly doubling that at 18.5. And also shooting a very, very nice 41% from 3 and nearly 59% from the floor. And in this game, he shot 7 of 13 and had 2 3-pointers. He also had 9 rebounds. So for me, the X factor of this entire series was Jrue Holiday, because in Game 3, the game sealing steal at the very, very end. That was the biggest play that they've had. Arguably, the biggest play in the Celtics have had in the playoffs for a number of years.
I'm not sure. I thought that Jaylen Brown's 3-point shot at the end.
Yeah, okay, I'll give you that. I'll give you that as well.
I think that was Jrue Holiday's steal was big, but that shot by Jaylen Brown
I'll give
falling out of bounds and actually falling down on Siakam all over him and hitting that shot, to me, was the biggest play.
I'll give you that. I'll give you that. But still, I think Jrue Holiday stepped it up massive, and I said going into this series on the show, I said, yeah, Jrue Holiday shot 43% from 3 throughout the regular season. I need to see more of that 43%. Well, he gave it pretty close, 41.7. And you know what happens? You sweep. Yeah. The Celtics, though, have the best defensive rating in the playoffs, if you include the regular season and the playoffs. They have the best offensive rating if you include regular season and the playoffs. This team, the way they played, and honestly, this game, while it was a little bit disappointing, the fact that you were losing for large sums of this game, the biggest lead for the Pacers was 9. There were 15 lead changes, and it was tied up very, very late into the game. I think that this showed that the Celtics in clutch time, regardless of what happens against a very, very fast-paced offense, can step it up when they need to, can play good defense, can seal a game with a clutch 3 or with a clutch steal, and then take care of business, and lo and behold, you shut down one of the best offensive teams based on the numbers and NBA history. You're right alongside them. And also just say, you know what, this is our series. You can't do anything. Yeah, we let you off your leash a little bit. This game was way too close than it had to be. But this is our series. It's our season. We are the best team in the NBA. And we're proving it now. So this is the type of Celtics team that I think we should be expecting, from just their player base. So when Jason Tatum says, we're not a super team because we didn't have the coach of the year or the MVP and we had only 2 All-Stars, it doesn't matter. Because the amount of star power you have, now, and not only that, everyone fits into their roles beautifully. It's a beautiful, harmonious relationship between each of these players. Peyton Pritchard coming off the bench can hit a number of threes and also be a great point guard. Sam Hauser can hit a number of threes as well. We saw that throughout these playoffs. He's had a couple games where he went like 4 of 6 from 3, and he had a great game. Jrue Holiday, defensive point guard, brings you more offense than Marcus Smart did.
You point out that the Celtics haven't faced that much adversity here because the other teams didn't have their best player on the court for a good portion of the series. The Heat, Jimmy Butler out the whole series, and Tyrese Haliburton out for 2 of the games, and also Donovan Mitchell out for 2 of the games. But let's not forget that Porzingis has been out almost the whole series.
That is true.
Right? Now he's going to be ready to go on Game 1. I'm sure the Celtics are hoping, go Timberwolves, win at least 2 games, and that gives Porzingis another week or so to rest. And that would be the best thing that could happen to the Celtics is the Timberwolves stretch this series out. I don't think it's going to happen because the Mavs are at home. And the way they've been playing and the mistakes the Timberwolves have made, but we're going to talk about that in a little bit here, so I don't want to give all my comments just now. But looking at the game last night, it was very close. Right. It was only a 3-point game. You look at the number of the stats, the Pacers had better stats than the Celtics did. Their field goal percentage, 46%, the Celtics 45%, so just a little difference there. 3-pointers. They had 34.5%. The Celtics 32%. Free throws.
Celtics beat them by a little bit there.
78% versus 75%. That was the difference in the game, basically, there, right? No, it was only 1 point difference, actually, on that. The total rebounds, the the Pacers out-rebounded the Celtics there. I was a little surprised to see that. And assists, the Pacers, 2 more assists. Blocks, that's where the Celtics beat them 6-4. And steals, the Celtics had 10 steals to 5 for the Pacers. That's where the Pacers had their issues. And with turnovers, they turned the ball over 3 times more than the Celtics did. So those are that was the difference in the game.
Well, we got about 2 weeks, give or take. Actually, about now, it's about a week. The game 1 of the NBA Finals is set for June 6th. So we'll have to wait and see, what happens there. But my guess would be, we heard that Porzingis was supposed to play in Game 4. He would, there's a chance he can get activated for Game 4. My guess, if I had to take a guess, Porzingis, if they needed to, like let's say there was a chance that they go, the Pacers tie up the series. I think Porzingis would have played.
Oh yeah.
But I think because you were up 3-0, you're like, let's just see.
Was he dressed? Was he dressed last night?
I don't think he was. They ruled him out way before, so my guess is probably not. But I think if the Celtics desperately needed him to play, or if there was an injury and you don't want to put Luke Cornett or Xavier Tillman as your starting center, let's say Al Horford's hurt or sick or whatever, I think Porzingis probably could have played, but he would not. I think he'd be maybe 65-70% of his full go. Now you give him the opportunity, give him a little over a week of rest, where he can get back to 100%.
Yeah. They didn't need him to play last night.
You're up 3-0.
Up 3-0.
So I think it was a smart
even if they
idea.
lost last night, they're coming back to Boston.
Right.
They would have been back to Boston twice. You wouldn't want it to go to 7 games for sure, but they did have the opportunity to come back to Boston twice in the rest of the series, and no other team in NBA history, 0 for 154, has won a series when they got down 3-0 in the playoffs. So,
last little tidbit here. Derek White has become the first guard in NBA history to have a playoff series averaging 2+ steals a game, 2+ blocks, and 2+ 3-pointers made. So there you go. Derek White's setting, putting his name in record books. He's also the 10th player in NBA history with at least 5 steals, 4 assists, and 3 blocks in a playoff game. The most recent was also a Celtic, Glenn Davis.
Oh yeah.
Who I think is in jail for 40 months now.
Oh yeah.
Something like that for was it something about the NBA insurance? He was abusing that system or something like that.
Huh, I didn't know about that.
Yeah.
But I think the one other point on the Celtics is their defense. They have 2 second-team All-NBA players on their starting 5, and Drew Holiday and Derek White.
Yeah.
And they proved it in this series, man. They both played great defense, I thought.
Speaking of Derek White, he increases the fact that he has the most blocks from anyone 6'6" and under. He had 3 blocks in this game. So he played great defensively. So all around, this is the Celtics team I think we were all hoping that we would see throughout the playoffs, where you win 60+ games, you are the best team in the NBA. Prove it. Put it on display. Don't fall apart again where Jason Tatum shoots horrible. And I don't know what it is in the playoffs, but he goes from shooting pretty well from 3 to now averaging 30% from 3. That's what I mean by consistency. I understand the competition is tougher and it's a little bit more physical, but Jason Tatum's taking just bad 3-pointers with step backs and fadeaways. Just do your natural 3 motion.
Yeah, I do agree with you that there's a little bit of a question mark there with the luck that the Celtics have had with the other teams losing their top players in these series. Although the Celtics down Porzingis, so they get Porzingis back and he can play strong. We'll see who they face. It looks like it's going to be the Dallas, whether they win tonight or have to win a game, on the road or back at home again. We'll have to see.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, if you want to check out the full episode, make sure you click the I in the top right-hand corner right now. If you want to listen to this show anywhere you go, make sure you go to anchor.fm/The Harvey Hour or anywhere you get your podcasts.